Okay, and I'm back. Get this stuff out of here. Clean up some of this this thread I have everywhere. Okay, so I've got just about everything sewn on this now. It's just a matter of putting the doing the lower jaw and then attaching that mouth plate piece. And I was thinking about it. I was originally thinking that I probably was going to have to basically sew the hand piece from the front, but I think I can get away with doing it from the back as well. So we'll see. We'll see how I do. Oh, and I painted the eyes, so they should be dry and ready to install by the time I finish turning and gluing this mouth. So that'd be great. We'll see if I have enough courage to try out my Zoidberg impersonation. Which again, I really, it's so funny that I keep building these characters with no intention of ever performing them, and then actually do a halfway decent job of an impersonation. So I don't know. Maybe that's the key, is to just have the puppet and then hope for the best. There's this great documentary. It was actually a teacher of mine did this documentary when I was in high school called Dawes Butler Voice Magician. You can find it on YouTube. And it's about Dawes Butler, the voice of Huckleberry Hound and Yogi Bear and all that. He was in the original Time for Beanie with Stan Freberg, and Stan Freberg did half the voices, and Dawes Butler did the other half. And one of the things Dawes says in this documentary was, he talks about how if he found he was doing this actor that was popular when he first started. He was doing on the stage. He was doing this actor, and he was like Dawes was like 5'2", little man, and he was playing this like 6 foot tall actor. I can't remember what actor it is, and he was saying that if he found that if he could look like the character, that he could sound like the character. And he kind of demonstrated that, when he was he would barrel out his chest and stand as tall as he could, and put his tongue under his lip, and he could get a really good impersonation. And he used that later when he was doing Yogi Bear. He was thinking like, or quick, he said, with Quick Draw McGraw, he figured with a long horse head, he would probably all talk from his nose, from his jaw. And so when he would do it, he would think about it. He would contort his face into what he felt looked like a horse, and then that would be how he did voice. Or with Yogi Bear, it was all from his chest because he's a big old bear, you know. And like it was really cool. But anyway, that's how I've always kind of approached these voices is kind of thinking about that, like what do they look like, and you know, how can I do that voice? So I think maybe by like putting on the Miss Piggy puppet, I was able to emulate that. Putting on the Mr. Rogers puppet, I was able to emulate that. Just very interesting stuff. Or I could be way off base too. Thanks, Charles. Sorry I called you last night. It was a complete accident. I had responded to your text and had left the screen open, and then when I picked it up, my thumb hit the little camera, which automatically called you, which is a terrible design flaw on Facebook's part. But yeah, then I couldn't figure out how to undo it. Oh, so close. I wonder if I'm going to have enough thread to get to this. I guess two more. I guess I can handle 2 more stitches here. Which of your characters has your voice? You mean like the ones that I do? I mean, everybody says Mayberry is me, and it's just basically me when I was in high school, real high pitched, kind of a. It also kind of sounds like Scooter when I do it. I almost put that on wrong side out. Or, um, so Mayberry, you know, this is my voice, and then Mayberry's, you know, hey, how's it going? Genius, the man's a genius. You know, just a little bit higher pitched than what I do. And then Eddie, I guess, is pretty close to my voice. Those are really the only 2 characters I do. But it's also me doing a Frasier impersonation. So it's, you know, it's basically me doing the mid-Atlantic accent. I mean, I think, you know, I haven't done Eddie in a while. Let me think. What does he say? Like, I'm a therapy dog. I'm a therapy dog. You can tell by my my $21 vest, which I bought on Amazon.com. That's just me doing bad Frasier. And then when I do X the Owl, it's me doing actually impersonation of Huell Hauser. You know, as Benjamin Franklin always says, I'm shocked. And that's just me basically doing, you know, a truck. You put it on a truck. It's just this. He's kind of a California celebrity. I don't know if everybody's familiar with Huell Hauser, but yeah, he's a guy who would go around to like the California missions and be just impressed that they knew how to grind corn. I do a pretty good Gilbert Gottfried, you know, and also a decent Peter Falk, which is basically the same as Gilbert Gottfried. Is it, this is the movie that dares to ask another take. Why? This movie answers the compelling question: want to make a movie this weekend? That was how I used to do it when I was in high school. And what was the other one? Just one more thing, sir. I couldn't help but notice the missus was saying, that's kind of my Peter Falk. Oh, that's good. Yeah, I'm actually impressed by the voices I see you do on your builds. You have some pretty good voices. Do you go into your builds knowing like the characters you can do the voice of, or do you just kind of do it like I do, where kind of on the fly? My buddy Eric does a good Roger Rabbit, or used to. He does a really good Christopher Walken. We all do really good Sulus from Star Trek. Just San Francisco. I was born there. More cowbell. Yeah, Eric's all about the cowbell. I think he even has a shirt about it. I used to do Christopher Lloyd. That was another one I used to always do. I come all this way for the power of Genesis, and what do I find? A weakling human, a Vulcan boy, and a woman. That's kind of my my go-to when I was younger. Usually, what gets me is my nerves. I always kind of like get so shy that I end up losing the voice. I've gotten a lot better about that, but I used to be quite uncomfortable on camera or on stage, and it all fall apart. What also bothers me is when, like, I hear somebody who doesn't really do, like, they don't take the voice seriously. Like Shatner, he has a thing about him. It's like a lot of people just do the pauses, space, the final frontier, whatever. But the key to Shatner is he both slows down and speeds up. So it's like he'll make up the time. And I first noticed this when I would do Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds for karaoke as Shatner. And he would stay in time, but it would it would still be sped up and slowed down. So it'd be like, picture yourself in a boat on a river with tangerine trees and marmalade skies. But I hear a lot of impersonators who are just like, space, the final frontier. It's just like, it drives me crazy. And then in the Multiple movie, I couldn't, even though I did Shatner all the time, I could not I could not do it on cue because I was so nervous. Yeah, great Scott. I always remember the bit that he did in Taxi. Like, I could have saved Star Trek. It's kind of my entry for it. Part of Christopher Lloyd was always, for me, was doing the face, when I was doing it. I come all this way for the power of Genesis. That was kind of my thing I would do. Again, it comes back to Dawes Butler, trying to do the face as you did the voice so that you got it all in sync. Yeah, what was I guess a more of a Back to the Future thing would be like, it's a very interesting story, future boy. Who's president of the United States in 1985? But I use those, when I'm doing puppet stuff, it's usually like if I can think of some way to relate it to some character I can already do to some extent, that that informs the way I do it, as like I did with Yul Hauser and X. When I was a kid, there used to be, I'm sure a lot of people remember this. HBO used to do every Christmas. There was a Rich Little Christmas Carol show that was on over and over again, and it was pretty bad. But thing about it was, it clued me in how Rich Little, a lot of his impersonations were more just picking up the cadence of the voice. Like if you can pick up the rhythms, the voice doesn't have to be right on. He might have been good at certain ones like Nixon and John Wayne, stuff like that. But really, it was all about getting the mannerisms in the way he talked to take him over the finish line. But I think that also helps. Like if you think about it, like how do you do somebody like who's not really imitatable? Like I'm trying to think of an actor. Like how would you do, say, Brad Pitt or somebody like that doesn't have anything particularly distinctive about him as an impersonation? I think that's one of the coolest things about the older actors and stuff, is they all kind of had their own little style to them. When I was doing Mayberry originally, he was kind of a. It was me doing Get Smart, Don Adams, without the accent. That was where it started. And because I was grasping, originally he was going to just be really dumb. He was just going to be like, oh, freeze. That was kind of the voice I was going to use. And then we're there on the first day of filming, and Eric's like, that voice is terrible. Just do something else. And so I go, what am I going to do for a voice? I don't have any idea. And he goes, well, remember that movie we made in high school where you were really excited as Spock? So I did this voice. It was like, um, I know. I have some Klingon dog food in my quarters. Uh, we can use that, whatever. And that was the voice. He says, yeah, just do that voice. And then during the production, I kept kind of changing it, and I was doing the, missed it by that much. And so then it became, missed it by that much, which is the way I was doing Mayberry for that first little movie that we did. And when it got to the point where I was doing so in the early 2000s, Disney was trying to get a second group of like performers, I think for cruise ships or maybe to edge out the original Muppet performers. And so they had this big casting call, which I went on. It was the first and really the only casting call I ever went on. And I was building puppets, but I wasn't really performing puppets. But in my mind, I was thinking, guy, there's nobody doing Scooter. And I already do Mayberry, which is pretty close to Scooter. Maybe, if they ask me, if I get to the point where they want to hear me do a voice, I can do Scooter. So my uncle who owns this theater sure isn't going to like this. That was kind of my voice for that. They never asked me to do it. I didn't get that far. I'm trying real hard not to actually sew into the foam as I do this because I'll never get it turned. Thanks. I've not built a Scooter. However, when I was going through fabric to build this, I was looking for fabric that I already had dyed. I found some orange that's about the right color, and I might do a Scooter because I would really the thing that's always kept me from doing Scooter is that jacket. That jacket just I don't even know where to start on that. But yeah, now Scooter has some different ones too. When he was doing Muppet Show early on, he was like, I can go for coffee. I can go for sandwiches. I can go for, he was real high. But then when he was closer to like Muppets Take Manhattan, he was well, it was a little more gravelly. And I'm trying to think of a line that was in Great Muppet Caper, but like disguising their car so they won't be recognized, from Muppet movie or I don't know. But yeah, he got a little, saying goodbye. Why is it sad? Why not remember the good times we've had? That was. See, I must be getting more comfortable on camera because I could never have done that, say, a month ago. Maybe I'll just do Scooter as I do Zoidberg. I used to do a pretty good Gonzo too. Uh, I can never remember things to say for Gonzo. Ah, Camilla, my pet. And that's about all I can say. I'm gonna go to Bombay, India, and become rich and famous. Slow down, what, Scooter? Yeah. Like disguising their car so they won't be recognized. Yeah, I don't know. It's again, I always feel like I need to be doing, like disguising their car so they won't be recognized. Yeah. Kind of acting it out as I do it. But that's a lot of it too. Is like, you have to be able to act when you're doing voices. Like, there's so many people now that, oh, I do a perfect Kermit or whatever, and they don't really act when they do it. You gotta kind of be able to act with your voice as well as puppeteer. I have a lot of opinions. I don't know that I even have that on camera. I get so involved in listening to myself talk. So I think that goes down there like so. And then go around to the other side. The blue cover. I'm just going to use the tops off of the those whatchamacallit, the light bulb covers. I'm gonna just do them white. I don't have any light blue paint, but no, I'm not gonna cast them. I've never cast anything that turned out, so it'll be fine. I'll learn how to cast some other time. The bulb covers, yeah. Though I painted them. I sanded them down and I painted them before I went to lunch, and they should be dry right around the time they should be dry now, but I'm gonna let them dry longer, so they don't get fuzzy. I can just imagine all this fleece getting all over those things and ruining them. But I'll get them as soon as I get this thing turned. The only thing I ever cast, and actually I didn't cast it, BJ did, that turned out halfway decent, was I did a sculpture of Dr. Smith from Lost in Space, and made a puppet out of that, and we cast that, and that turned out halfway decent. But usually when I do it, I get so many air bubbles, or the mold breaks or whatever. I've never had the patience for it. I can go get that. Let me go get that puppet. Yeah, I know. It's just like, I don't know. I'm about 15 minutes away from getting a 3D printer, if I can help it, if I can justify the cost. But I guess I'm kind of old school. It definitely would help me in building mechanisms, though. That video with Lori was a lot of fun. I don't know if you guys saw it, but she opened Ben Franklin on camera for me, and I should try and do that from now on. Like when I finish a puppet, have part of it be that they open it up on camera, because I need content. I need lots of content. Of course, that's all I need to do is get somebody who hates it. Like, what is this garbage? Why did I spend money on this thing? Okay. Yeah, yeah. I that's what I could. I always feel like. I mean, I have almost no head for the 3D space. Of building a um, uh, a 3D model of something, and I feel like part of having a 3D printer would be designing all that stuff. And I just worry that it'll be one more tool that I don't use. Although I don't have a whole lot of tools I don't use to some extent. But the other thing is coming up with a place where I would actually have it set up. So I'm pretty tight here in the second bedroom. And I understand that they give off some fumes, which I probably don't want to be breathing. And so any place else in the house too, if that's the case, I also have to worry about Tilly breathing it. So That, if anything, just gets me to be completely puts me into a state of inaction. Yeah. See, my favorite part of building is figuring out the plans, figuring out uh, the patterns. So I kind of worry, like if I spent all that time, you know, making a 3D model, I don't know that I would be doing all that other stuff. I could be wrong. I could just be an old man set in his ways. I'm an old man. So I think this is going to be the first puppet that I put together kind of like the way Adam used to do it, in that it has a separate, usually the mouth plate and the mouth fabric are one piece when I do it. I usually have it all built and then glue it at the edge. But since this is sewn in, I'm probably going to have to lay it in, like do spray adhesive in there. So that'll be interesting. I really should try. I watch a lot of those different videos. I should try some of those techniques a little bit more. I think that there's there's always something that can be learned, even if you don't do the product the exact same technique. You can learn a lot of techniques that could serve you better if, when you ever run into a problem. Rather than just like, oh, that's not the way you do it. Which I feel like some people do. Or they look for the right way to do it. They're like, there's no real right way. There's some wrong ways, but not really a right way. Oh boy. Well, the good news is it seems to be fitting. I don't know how I would have ever tested this pattern. It's kind of tough to machine sew something like this. Which usually when I test it, I will machine sew it just because it's faster. It has so many nooks and crannies though, I can't imagine. Also, there's really not enough room for a seam allowance on this mouth, on this these tendrils. Now, sometimes if I miss a stitch, I'll have to go back with the and do the ladder stitch from the front to fix out a hole or something, or torn stitch. pry this off. Okay, home stretch. Starting to look like something. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I've been doing this thing where I've been using the spray adhesive on the fabric and then using barge on the foam. And when they're both tacky, they seem to work fine with each other. But I know like you can put way too much barge on a piece of fabric so it seeps through, and you're less likely to do that with the spray adhesive. And as far as the foam goes, you never can seem to put enough spray adhesive on there. So, and it's a lot easier to use a brush on that. So that's what I've been doing, and that's how I did like the inside liner and stuff. Um, so that might be how I do this. Spray adhesive is a lot of that. It's a contact cement as well, so you have to let it get tacky to make it really work. But it also doesn't activate with heat, so if you do it wrong, you're kind of stuck. But anyway. Actually, this orange here, that's a little lighter than the stuff I found to do scooter. I was going to use the stuff I was going to use for scooter for the orange in the mouth, and I was like, or inside the mouth, and I was like, oh, that actually is about the right color. And provided I don't actually make it so that I could change his outfit, I can just basically do his head and his arm, his hands, and I don't need as much fleece. And I can just use regular um, uh, polar fleece for the body, like I did that with strange pork. I don't ever really anticipate having a fashion show. And actually, Miss Piggy's legs, they're from the knee down. They were just polar fleece as well. You know, you're all on your edges of your seat to see what this thing looks like from the front. Like I said, this fabric is a little blotchy, so hopefully it doesn't look too bad. Sorry, trying to get this in here. I ordinarily wouldn't have a seam here, um, but I thought this would be the easiest way to deal with these tendrils is have them be basically the same pattern that just kind of goes together like a glove, like a glove. Let's see. Did you hear us talking about you, Karen? We were talking about 3D printing eyes. How I'm an old man who just refuses to embrace new technology. Thank you, Karen. I might take you up on that. I don't know. I'm anxious to see how these light bulbs work. I literally been holding on to one of those dead light bulbs for, God, probably 5 years. And it was just waiting for another one to burn out so that I could use it for eyes. But it's something that's accessible to people. I wouldn't suggest going out and buying some of those light bulbs just to cannibalize, but because they're a little expensive. But I can't find any half domes that are around 2 inches, 2 inches around, which is kind of what I need. It actually was closer to like a 3/4 inch, three-quarter round. It used to be you could go on different doll making sites and find all that stuff, but it's so hard to find reputable people anymore to sell that stuff. I typed in 50 millimeter half dome safety eye, and there was anything close to what came up, but there were like 8 or 10 hits I got with it. I get it was like 50 millimeter um, round, and I look at it and it's a big flat round 50 millimeter eye. I got to say, these registration marks are almost lining up, which is great. And me putting it on camera would be even better. Okay. One more. Because you would find is at a Hobby Lobby would be a 2-inch ornament ball. Yeah, I have a lot of those ornament ball things, and they're so brittle. I may try doing a vacuum form pull off of those, backfill them full of epoxy, and see if I can make a buck off of it. Yeah, that's what I used on Ralph, and his eyes are very brittle. But the nice thing is that you can get them up to 4 inches. I actually use those ornaments a lot more than I probably should. I use those for 9 Numb's eyes. I use those for a dragon puppet that I built. I use them for Akbar's eyes. Just a lot. They're very readily available, but they don't take paint real well, and they are very brittle. Yeah, I probably do. Probably do need to be dragged kicking and screaming. But see, here's my other fear. I fear that I would get a 3D printer, and then you'd never see me again because I would be printing out a full scale C3PO costume for myself. Because you know how I get distracted. Yeah, see, that's I'm gonna actually. That's another thing. I have to repair Rosie. So that might be one of my live streams coming up. Is fixing her. Um, and then maybe that'll lead me back into number 5 where I actually finish that thing. I need to have like certain days of the week. Like maybe the builds are Tuesday through Thursday. Monday would be Melon Pool Monday, where I draw a melon pool strip or several, and Friday might be fix something Friday or something. I don't know. I have so many half-finished projects that either I got stuck on or moved on from or whatever. Be nice to finish some of these guys up. I did that a couple years ago. That's when I fixed Mayberry and fixed or did Roberta's hair or head. And what else did I do? Let me get it on camera here. I have another project I need to be doing, but it's not something they want me put on camera, so which is why I keep putting it off. Look at how close we are. Look at how close we are to getting done with this thing. Watch I get this all done and it doesn't fit. Or looks terrible. It's all about problem solving, though. I mean, okay. Now I'll take a 6-hour break. I'm just kidding. Okay. All right. This is so this is old Antron. This is medium Antron. This is the Georgia stage from about 2005, 2006. So it's pre burning down the mill, but post the good stuff, the good. Okay, so and this is the wrong side of it. Hopefully I can get it out because I think I took off way too much, or sewed up way too much. Let's see. I may have to take some of the back out. Got some pretty interesting seams here. Okay, let's see if I can get it back on there. So I can tell you right now, I should pull out a few of these stitches in the back because it's going to be real tough to get on here. But since I tied a knot every inch or so, it'll be pretty easy to take it out without ruining everything. Yeah, let me do that first. I did such a good job here too. Okay. I'm gonna have to glue it too, so I gotta figure that out. There's a hole there someplace. I felt it. Well, it fits, which is good. Oh, I have no idea. It's whatever a light bulb looks like. It's okay. Well, I mean, it looks pretty good, I think. Let me go grab the eyes. So here are the eyes. These are where's the if I knew what happened to my ruler. So about 2-inch diameter, about 2-inch. Well, that's not right. So at the base it's 2, and then at the edge it's about 2 2.25, and at the top is 2. But see, it's almost like a 3/4 round. I guess I can put it on this. Gotta get his center seam in the right spot. So he'll gotta say those darts look pretty good. I did okay with that. So literally these are these are these. That's what that is. It's just the top off of this. So that's almost like a 3/4. Okay, so I got to get the center seam right in the right spot, and then I can cut this away and glue that down. And then I have to glue in the mouth pallet here, which I'll probably do outside just because it's pretty nasty. And then all it is sewing up the back with a ladder stitch. And then making his little eyebrow eyelid things. I've lost those. Over there. So I got these pieces I still got to cut out and cover. But there'll be plan-ons that keep the eyes in the sockets. There's no mouth plate in this thing. That's the crazy thing. I had a mouth plate made and I couldn't operate it. So it's just foam in there. It's just a complete spongy mouth in there. But and you know, anybody with a bigger hand than me is gonna have a problem. Maybe not. So yeah, it's just a squishy foam. And I have to have my hand in there like this. That's the only way you can puppeteer it. But you're really doing everything with the upper anyway. You know, I'm not sure I can do Zoidberg yet. Here I am. Dr. Zoidberg. Kind of like that. I don't know. Yeah. So anyway, I'm gonna futz with this a little bit, and then probably glue it, and then I might be back on tonight or maybe tomorrow. I haven't decided yet. I did a lot of work on this thing today. Or thin leather. I could have done leather. I don't know. It's such a weird setup. I had no idea what I was doing. It just kind of evolved. But you know, where's his body? This is not his body. This is just a this is Benjamin Franklin's body. Yeah, it's kind of tough. Start to see how he's going to go together. I won't tell Ben. I just think this body needs to be a little bit bigger and a little bit smaller down here, so it can take that ring down there. And I might put a ring up at the neck too. I haven't decided yet, but yeah. All right. Well, thank you for going on this journey with me, and I will, like I said, I might get back on tonight, or I might put off till tomorrow. But you guys are along for the ride, whatever this ends up being.